What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Cosmic Wonder. Today we have something incredibly interesting that involves a face-off between Loki and Dr. Doom, or Robert Downey Jr., which a lot of people have chosen to call him now, and I like it. But today we're going to go over a report/leak that tells us a lot about the next Avengers movie, Avengers Doomsday. We have a big indicator of how this film is going to end, and plus we dive in a little bit into how the Kang Dynasty was originally supposed to end. For Avengers 5, Marvel Studios has changed the story, going from Kang to Doom. Obviously, we knew that there were going to be some changes, but it sounds like Marvel Studios might have just kind of completely scrapped the old script and have started on a new one. The Russo brothers even put out a press release stating and confirming that Stephen McFeely, who co-wrote the Russo brothers' previous Marvel films with Christopher Marcus, will write both of the screenplays for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. Alone though, not with Christopher Marcus, just to make that clear. And this is great news because clearly Stephen McFeely and the Russo brothers is a good combination. Infinity War and Avengers Endgame were fantastic. And of course the other Captain America movies they wrote. But originally Kang Dynasty/Doomsday had two other writers. They are now out and Stephen McFeely is in. So big changes, but it looks like the ending might be kind of the one thing that they are going to keep the same. And I think most people realize by this point, Avengers Doomsday is pretty much going to be like Avengers Infinity War, because in Avengers Infinity War, it ended with the Avengers losing, and that is most likely how Avengers Doomsday will end. But we have some specifics of just how that is going to happen, and it starts with Marvel Studios registering two new production companies. One of them has the name For All Time Productions UK Limited. Now, I think a lot of people will recognize the saying, for all time, always. That's the TVA slogan, their motto, their mantra. So clearly, this has to do with Loki, and big shout out to Alex Perez at thecosmiccircus.com for doing a whole article on this. Definitely head over there and check it out after this video. But thecosmiccircus.com seemingly confirms that this is indeed Doomsday. It's not Secret Wars, but it's the first Avengers film, or the next Avengers film, Doomsday. And this hints severely at how the film is going to end, because right now we know that Loki is holding the multiverse together, literally. But we also know, since Marvel Studios is doing the Secret Wars story, we know that the multiverse will be destroyed. The multiverse will collapse. It'll crash. And since Loki is holding the multiverse together right now, that means something has to happen with him. And it looks like what is going to happen to him and the TVA is a massive attack by Dr. Doom. So how does this all tie together? Here's what Alex P had to say. With the story coming to a precipice, it only makes sense that the threads that initially seem separate from each other will be more intertwined the closer we get to Secret Wars. At the end of Loki Season 2, the multiverse is being held together by Loki, literally, sitting on the throne in which he always imagined himself. Loki is the ruler of everything, but also utterly alone, sitting in the center of the TVA, sacrificing everything to hold the world together. Everyone he loves remains safe as long as he's grasping the branches. So if there is going to be world-ending incursions resulting in Battleworld, which we all believe is going to happen, it seems like something big is going to happen to the TVA. Perhaps a certain Robert Downey Jr. shows up and destroys everything holding the multiverse together, all in the hopes of being the ruler of all, clearly compensating for something. With an arc that echoes that of Wanda from Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the showdown between the TVA and Doom might be the catalyst for the greatest crossover in history. Then he says this, and this is very interesting. He states, in the original story for the Kang Dynasty, Kang searched for Loki in hopes of obtaining his power, essentially having to kill him to do so. Seems like this could easily be transitioned to Doom, with a similar story potentially taking place. And that is certainly what For All Time Always hints at, with that being the production company's name that Marvel Studios registered for Doomsday. And this is actually perfect, and it's quite genius by Marvel Studios. And if you don't like the fact that Robert Downey Jr. is back at Doom, maybe this will make you like it a little bit more. We're dealing with something that I don't think we've ever truly experienced before. We definitely haven't experienced it in the MCU, and since this is kind of the first time we're really diving into the multiverse with connected story arcs, I believe this is the first time we're going to see this. But here's what is really happening right now in the MCU. Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, started the MCU. He was the first hero, and he led all of the other heroes all the way up till Avengers Endgame, to where he sacrificed himself to save everybody. And now he's the villain. The hero who started it all, who led all of the other heroes, alongside Captain America of course, has now flipped, and he is the villain. Now that's all really cool to hear and to see, but it's a different variant. We have to realize that. Tony Stark, Iron Man, he died in Avengers Endgame, so it's different and more epic for Loki actually. Loki started off as a villain in Thor. Then he became the villain of the very first Avengers film. Then we watched him kind of become a villain again, and then over time, he gradually started to get good. Better and better, until eventually he became the savior of the entire multiverse at the end of Loki season 2. So we have two different characters who are now going to be the complete opposite of where they started off at in the MCU. Loki, who was the big bad villain in the beginning, is now the big awesome hero. Robert Downey Jr., who was the hero in the beginning as Tony Stark, is now going to be the villain as Doom. And I still do believe that he is going to be playing Tony Stark, a Tony Stark variant. I don't believe that he is playing Victor Von Doom, even though he recently said that's what they talked about. I don't buy it. I think he's playing Tony. When the movie comes out, if I'm wrong, you can all definitely tell me that, but I still think he's Tony. So this matchup here, this final battle between Loki and Doom, it's really much bigger than just two characters fighting. It's the depth of the characters and the significance of the characters that makes it so epic. Plus, not to mention, Loki has been around since phase 1. He's been a very prominent character right there next to Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark. And we're talking about Doomsday here, but think about Avengers Secret Wars, the two of them ending the Infinity Saga and then leading into a soft reboot of the MCU. Two characters who started the MCU, who were key figures in the MCU, will be there at the end. It really is more significant when you look at it this way, and honestly it means a lot more. And another tie-in to that phrase / production company name, For All Time, I also believe ties into the destruction of the multiverse, into Battleworld, and into the Void. I believe that Deadpool and Wolverine kind of told us that the Void is going to be Battleworld. When Cassandra Nova talked about deleting every universe out there until all that was left is the Void, I instantly thought that is what is going to happen when the multiverse gets destroyed. Literally, all the universes are gone and all that's left is the Void. And the Void exists outside of space and time. Kid Loki has been there for possibly thousands of years and hasn't aged a bit. So we know it exists outside of time, and we know it exists outside of space. So what happens when there is no more time on Battleworld? For All Time also does imply the destruction of the TVA, which would then lead to, I'll say, the interference of Loki holding the multiverse together. So obviously Loki is going to let go of all of these threads, or the threads are going to be destroyed. But it seems like Doom is going to make his way to the TVA, destroy the TVA, then make his way to Loki. And at this point in time, we now know one way or another, the multiverse will be destroyed. So Loki will essentially be set free. And that is where Avengers Secret Wars comes into play. But as far as an ending goes for Avengers Doomsday, I think this is pretty near perfect as we can get. Loki from villain to hero, Robert Downey Jr. from hero to villain, facing off for the fate of the multiverse, and all of the Avengers being defeated. That's big. It's really, really big, and it's going to be hopefully very grand and epic, but probably not more than the actual finale of Secret Wars. And I'm assuming it's probably going to be Loki versus Doom in that as well. Of course, there's going to be a huge Avengers battle, but I think in the end, it might come down to these two. But go ahead and let me know your thoughts about that in the comments down below. If this happens, will you like it or not? Let me know in the comments down below, and please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the latest MCU news. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.